What's up, guys? Ben Golan with Chris Level. Welcome back. We're reviewing the spring football positions. Today, we're looking at the offensive line, which is a major key to the success of the Red Raiders. We all know the struggles of the last couple of years, but there's optimism this year. You have a solid core, some good depth, a really good signing class. Let's get right to it. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Thank you for being a part of RedRaidersports.com and watching these. I would say that the offensive line is maybe the biggest change on your entire football team, and I think that's a hefty statement. But I think that there's a variety of things that I think went into that, and it's not just one player or one position change. It's just kind of the culmination of a lot of things. And there's some questions here too, and we'll get to that. But I think Rusty Stats is going to be somebody that I would view as one of the most important people on your entire football team. And I thought Dennis Wilburn was for you last year. So Stats is really good at his job. He's a culture guy. He knows what Kitley wants and how fast he wants this to go. This is somebody that even is pushing the pace a bit faster when he's asked to do so, and everybody kind of has to follow Rusty. But it also allows you to move Dennis Wilburn to guard his more natural position, because I think Dennis Wilburn is, I don't know if he's an all-conference guard, but I bet he's close. I think that he's been really a plus at that position. And then your other guard, which thankfully he was hurt last year, because, and I say that only
Weird to
because
say. Yeah.
you get him this year, because if he
Yeah.
plays last year,
He's out.
and I think Joey would actually tell you him being hurt last year is a blessing, because if we have him last year, this is Joey talking, like, how many more games does he ultimately help us win? Whereas now that we have him this year, I think that, I just think so. I hope that statement makes sense. But that's Cole Spencer. But Spencer's been phenomenal. So the interior of your offensive line is set. It's locked. It's one of the strengths of your entire football team. I do think there's a capable, backup there at guard at either spot. And Jacoby Jackson, I think one of those two guards would have to really falter or get dinged before Jacoby would start games and all that. I don't know if Jacoby's ready to pass them up, but I think Jacoby Jackson is the future, because guess what? All three of those interior guys right now are seniors.
Yeah.
And Jacoby Jackson is the future. So, people are not going to know Jacoby Jackson, but as far as the big picture part of your program, key piece. And Ben, the bowl practices last year, and we reported on this some, but they tinkered with flipping the tackles. They tinkered with some different things at center and just kind of moved some things around because they could. They had some time. They earned the right to kind of fiddle with some of that and kind of see if they wanted to go forward with it. But Monroe Mills is just naturally better at left tackle than he is right. And I don't think they wanted to go into the bowl game this way, not having done it in a game before when you got a lot on the line and trying to win a bowl game against a really good team like Ole Miss. But this has been a good change for him. And I think Caleb Rogers is just a solid player. I think he struggled at times last year at left tackle when you're typically going against the best of the defensive ends. And as we know with the draft recently, there's a lot of those. Kansas State had one, TCU had one, Iowa State had one, and on it went. So I just think this is, again, it's been good for everybody. The question, though, is okay, what does the depth look like, and specifically quality depth? If somebody, or plural, goes down, what now? If Jacoby has to go in, I just don't know if you're giving up a whole lot. I think he's not as good as Spencer and Wilburn, yeah. And then your swing tackle, is somebody that I guess I wouldn't rule out Ty Buchanan from potentially pushing to start. Although I don't want to say that Monroe Mills and Caleb Rogers are just locked in and set, but Ty Buchanan, I think, is an able swing tackle with some future ahead of him too. Again, I think there's some youth there and some years left, and so these are key pieces for your position group. And so, but that's kind of where the problems that now begin, because it's like, do you have a quality 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, kind of, and it's very telling, Ben, is that you covered this on the site. Weatherby, Tucker both leave. You had Cade Briggs leave. You had Ethan Card leave. And what the reason that you had the two players leave recently, and Jack Tucker and Caden Weatherby, is because, or I think partly because, I should say, I can't speak to if that's the sole reason, but I mean, Caden Carr, the freshman from Lubbock Cooper, he's basically was starting to run second team in the back half of spring practice.
Well,
He came in and really, now, are they looking for reasons to play him as a true freshman? No, you don't want to have to do that. And then Daniel Sill, I think, is also very, very impressive and was kind of starting to kind of work his way up the depth chart. And you've got Nick Fadig, and you've got who's the other
Dylan Shaw.
signee? Yeah,
Yeah.
Dylan Shaw coming in the summer. But you updated this on the portal offer recently, and there's a need there. They must think, is especially at tackle.
Yeah, 15 scholarship guys right now, which is probably, 2 or 3 less than they'd like to have, I think. Ideally, wouldn't they rather be at 17, 18 in the O line?
Yeah, I think you always want to be at that, in that, just because you want depth, you want it to be staggered as far as your classes go.
Yeah.
You don't ever want to be like seniors dropping down all the way to redshirt freshmen. You just kind of need it stacked. And again, this, in the portal era, it's easier said than done, but I think they view tackle with more than 1 year of eligibility as a need. And I think they view that as a need that they may use one of their very few available spots on, if they can find the right, player. And, what was it? Is it Florida International? Is that right? Or Florida Atlantic?
Yeah, Florida International. He
Yeah, there you
actually
go.
he
FIU.
actually committed. Yeah, Lindell Hudson. He committed to South Florida today. So that was a
But that
yeah.
was the
He was
offer.
offered. Yes,
And so
correct.
that's a tell, I think, to
Yes.
me. That's a tell to me, in that if they find the right player at that position, they would like to have somebody that, again, not a one and done, because I don't know if that does you any good. I don't know if they would be mad at that, but I mean, if it's the right fit. But I think they would prefer a tackle with maybe multiple years of eligibility. So we'll kind of see and monitor that. But I think that's very interesting. Sheridan Wilson dinged
Yeah.
up his hand. You've got let's see, I mean, Seth Martin. You've got Matt Keeler, I think, is a work hard guy. But that's kind of gives you a good glance at that position, and kind of how we view it, how maybe they view it. It's, again, I think you'll hear strength as far as your football team, and you weren't bad last year. You were serviceable. You kind of figured out ways to get it done, play calling, running the quarterback, doing various different things. And we talk about quarterback injuries. There were plenty of injuries on that offensive line as well, where you're shuffling the deck and all those things. And
Yeah.
they knew that it was going to be a struggle a year ago at this time. Hence the reason they added 5 portal guys to that position. And they missed on some of them. I mean, Cade Briggs never really played here. Michael Shanahan's no longer here. Thank goodness Monroe Mills is. Thank goodness Ty Buchanan is.
Yeah.
And thank goodness Cole Spencer still is. So those are the 5 guys. But I think, we'll see what Steve Linton does on defense and Dre McCray does at receiver. But I mean, Rusty Stats he may be one of the biggest additions you had to your team. And it's not sexy, I get it, but that is a vital position for what you want to be. And he knows how to play it well. And I'm excited about watching that group up front because of what these guys feel like after they've watched them for a full month and a half or so.
Yeah, you touched on a lot right there. I had a couple questions or notes that
Yeah.
one of them I didn't realize until now is you mentioned the interior O-line. They're all super seniors. They were
Hmm.
all class of 2017 high school. So this is their
Yeah.
sixth year of college football. All
Yeah.
three guys are 24, 20, years old, and they're just that's what you want in the offensive line.
Grown men.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned the Cole Spencer injury from last year, kind of a blessing in disguise that you have him now. It also allowed Jacoby Jackson to play over 700 snaps last year. So you mentioned him as a guy who could potentially, help now, but also has several years left. Getting that experience, I think, will be big. And then one guy you didn't mention who I haven't heard anything about, Landon Peterson.
Yeah,
He,
he didn't go through the spring, and
Mhm.
so I think a shoulder injury or surgery or rehab or something. I think minor, but again, easy for me to say. It's always minor when it's somebody else's surgery or injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's kind of an incomplete, I guess, from the spring because he didn't participate.
Okay.
But I think there's some positive thoughts about Landon Peterson. It's just that we didn't see him at all in the spring. He was out of action. But we've again we've kind of talked about the core of that group, and it's going to be a bit tricky next year just because of those three guys up front being super seniors, and you're gonna that's going to be a position from the portal standpoint that I bet you address after this season is over with. Interior offensive linemen. I'm not going to be shocked at all if you add one or two pieces there, whether they're ready to play right now, whether they're one and done, whether they whatever. I think you'll be looking to upgrade there or add experience and age to that group if you can.
Yeah, no doubt. They're recruiting really well, so but you got to let those kids develop. You can't throw them on the field yet. So
Yeah,
uh,
because
check that.
Caden Carr is 6. I mean, I was around him all last year.
Yeah.
I called some of those games. I mean, he is just an enormous human. He is a legit 6'4", 6'5", 320. And this is a high school kid, but he's a pup from that
Mhm.
standpoint. Physically, he's ready to go. It's just learning the scheme and some of the technique with hand placement and all those kinds of things. And again, you just don't want to have to put him out there just yet. You want to keep him in the oven a bit. And I just, they could easily let him play in one, two, or three or four games, and you still, save that red shirt. But I think you get what I'm saying. You just don't want to be in a position where, but again, direct correlation as we talked about. I think in Caden Carr and the Daniel Sill and some of those guys saying, "Hey, I think I'm out." And Eric Gray was a position switch before the spring, moved
Mhm.
over to D tackle. Now he's no longer in the program either. So again, you start factoring in the Briggs departure and the Card departure, and then some of these guys that we've talked about, the Grays, the Weatherbys and the Tuckers and all that. It's easy to see why you maybe go use one on a tackle, or you may need to bring in some interior linemen after the season. But anyway, pretty good group. Stephen Hamby does a good job with them. If those starters can stay healthy, man, look out. You're going to be really good up front.
Yep. Anything else?
I don't think so, man. I think we covered it.
Okay, well, stay tuned to Red Raider Sports Guys. Like we talked about, we think that they might, try to get a portal guy or two, and we'll definitely be all over that. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back.